Hello, and welcome back to the For Love or Peanut Butter Dating Podcast. This is Season 2, Episode 1, How I Met the Man I Gave Up Peanut Butter For. If you listen to Season 1 of the podcast, you've probably gathered that I've kissed more frogs than the Bachelorette. And I've been single about as long as that show's been on the air. Yeah, all that bad luck and bad sex led to me having a very bad attitude, okay? Until one day I decided to address it and shake that shit off like T-Swift. If this is your first time listening to my podcast, welcome. You're all caught up. Okay, not really. But if you'd like more context, feel free to head back to Season 1 to listen to the plethora of dating disasters anytime you'd like. They're funny. Now. But what if I told you that currently I'm no longer single? That's right. What if, hypothetically speaking, I was in a happy, supportive, loving relationship with an actual human man who treats me very well? Wouldn't that be wild? I bet you'd want me to tell you how the hell I pulled it off, right? Well, buckle up, Buttercup, because that's exactly what I'm going to do. Trigger warning. This story started in 2020, so there are some references to the year that shall not be named. Sorry. I just want to give you a heads up. It's mostly relationship banter, but with the not so subtle backdrop of a global pandemic, lockdown, and all the weird shit we were doing during that time.
Today I'm going to show you how to make sourdough bread.
Now, back to the story. Believe me when I say that I'm as shocked as you are to find myself in a functional relationship. Okay, it seemed about as likely as, I don't know, everything that happened in 2020. COVID, quarantine, staggering death counts, protests, conspiracies, aliens, murder hornets, locusts, uncontainable wildfires, never-ending elections that haunt your dreams. Apparently, the universe considered me getting a boyfriend equally as insane as the United States denouncing science. Now, I'm aware that me having a boyfriend is slightly less damaging to the general American psyche than all of the other traumatic events we've collectively endured. But I was still initially a little nervous to talk about it on my podcast. I'm supposed to go on bad dates and share them with all of you in our communal trough of indignity where we roll around in our shared misery brought on by the evil axis of Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge, right? I feel like I'm abandoning you in a way. But I'm not. I'm just finally moving on to the next phase of my romantic journey, which I hope will serve as a beacon of hope rather than a treacherous act. I'm still on your side. I'm still one of you. And if I can find love, you can too. Besides, I have a decade's worth of dating in LA stories backlogged for you, okay? Which means there's still plenty of humiliation and cringeworthy moments to share from my time in the trenches. So, welcome back to that, okay? I'm just also going to tell you about my accidental summer of love. I'm still trying to figure out how it happened amidst the chaos of a world teetering on the edge of apocalypse. So I guess I'll just start at the beginning and you can figure it out with me. I was living in West Hollywood at the beginning of 2020. I had just moved into my dream studio apartment. It was my first time living on my own and I loved it. Nothing like dancing naked in your living room whenever you want. I was in the heart of everything too, close to restaurants, bars, comedy clubs, all the things that immediately shut down when the world was closed. My sister was up on this so-called coronavirus business, and she hinted that there might be some sort of extended quarantine on the horizon. I laughed it off, just like I laughed off the possibility of a Trump presidency. But when you're wrong, you're fucking wrong.
I didn't know it was going to be this bad.
Things got real when I had a near panic attack after a neighbor of mine removed my bed sheets from the dryer and breathed on them without wearing a mask. And then she just set them down on the communal counter in the laundry room to just linger and be breathed on by anyone else who might wander in there. Oh, anxiety. Hello, old friend. Now, I was a little bit of a germaphobe before, not crippling or anything, but I did already carry Purell on me. I washed my hands a lot, and I never let dogs lick my face because I'm not into ass to mouth.
What the hell have you been complaining about?
But this COVID business was kicking it into high gear. After I politely asked my neighbor if she would wear a mask in the elevator, I swear it was sincere and not snarky, my hand to RBG. She laughed raucously in my face and shouted, "Or not," and then strutted down the hall, panting like a dog through her wide open mouth. Whew. Okay. Once I collected myself from the icked out weeping puddle of tears I had become, I left for Tahoe and didn't come back. That's right. I ran home to my mom, seeking solace in the forest from the now incredibly obvious excess of people and consequently germs in the city. It had been fun those first few nights of lockdown when people would step out on their balconies all together at 7 p.m. and howl in unity in support of all the nurses and doctors on their shift change. Remember that? So weird. Like those were the moments that made it fun and less isolating to be in the city. But that blip of unity at the beginning did not last long. As such, Tahoe was the place for me. I stayed for a month straight. The moment I did drag myself out of the forest and back to LA, George Floyd was murdered in Minneapolis, and the whole country erupted in protests. I learned about them from the roof of my apartment building when I saw 8 police helicopters circling and plumes of black smoke curling up into the air less than a mile away. It was Melrose. Melrose was on fire, I learned as I Googled, "Why is there smoke in West Hollywood?" I wanted to go out and march or help with cleanup, anything to be a part of it, but I was going back to my mom's house soon and I didn't want to put her at risk. I already lost my dad to brain cancer and my mom has beat breast cancer twice, so I was not about to fuck around and find out how she handled COVID. Anyone who talked to me in 2020 knows that I was annoyingly vigilant about my social distancing because I was staying with my mom, and my mom's the best. I love you, Mom. Anyway, this pattern kept repeating, and I kept retreating back to Tahoe to hunker down with my mom and sister, just like she predicted. I expected to watch a lot of movies, read a lot of books, hopefully write a lot of funny stuff. What I did not expect was to meet 4 different men over the course of the summer who each had the potential to be the love of my life. Weird, right? When it rains, it pours. First up was Andrew. Side note, to protect identities, whether I like them or not, I will be using fake names for each suitor. I did not ask permission to write about our time together because it's my life too, and that's the risk you take when you date a comedian. But I will do my best to leave out identifying characteristics so they can remain mostly anonymous. Anyway, Andrew is a Tahoe guy I had met years before. I moved home for the summer back in 2012 when my dad was sick, and while I was there, I joined the Friday Night Softball League. Andrew was on another team, but there's only one bar in town, Pete and Peter's, and that's where everybody goes after the games, so that's where I met him. He was super kind, and I liked him right away, but I wasn't sure if I was attracted to him. We bumped into each other over the years every time I returned to Tahoe. It was crazy, but nothing really happened until the summer of 2020, when I ran into him yet again. The next suitor, Brooks, is another Tahoe local, born and raised like myself, who I had known since I was a very small child. He's about 7 years older than me, which is literally a lifetime when you're a little kid, but our parents were good friends, so we grew up around each other. As we got older, he became one of those aspirational high school boys like Jake Ryan or Aaron Samuels.
Hey, do you have a pencil I can borrow?
I've only had one other crush in my life.
Ugh, everybody knew his name. He was funny, popular, cute, on the football team, and basically felt like a celebrity to me. But he would always say hi to me when we crossed paths, which caused my other little tween girlfriends to just look at me in shock, eyes bulging out of their heads like, "How does Brooks know your name?" I was like, "I don't know. My parents are friends. He has to be nice to me." He made me nervous though, and I never thought I would truly be on his radar. But you guessed it, summer of love, baby. I was all grown up when I ran into Brooks this time, and suddenly I had his digits. Our third player is Carter. He's a Bay Area guy, not officially a Tahoe local, so he doesn't own a North Face puffy jacket or a Subaru, but his parents do own the home next door to my mom's house. Second home. He's handsome. He owns his own business, and he was basically perfect on paper, aside from the fact that he was 42 and had never been married. Yes, I know that's kind of the pot calling the kettle black, but at least I knew what was brewing inside of my pot, okay? I didn't know what the fuck was boiling inside of his kettle. I just knew I didn't want to get burned. Our meet cute was spurred by a neighborhood bear in the garbage can incident.
Sir, I can see you like this lady, but your courting rituals need work.
Classic Tahoe. Don't worry, you'll get the whole story later. And yes, I am just as surprised as you are at how many men I found right outside of my mom's front door. Our final player is Dex. Bit of a curveball here because no, I did not meet him on the corner in front of my mom's house. Crazy, right? No, he's actually an LA local, born and raised by the beach. I met him through my best friend over a decade ago, so we go way back. But Dex was married, and I'm not even capable of picturing myself with someone who's married, so I never had. Besides, we'd only ever hung out in large groups, so we were pretty much acquaintances anyway. But in 2020, I asked him if he would teach me how to surf, and wave selection and a good pop-up were not the only things I learned. It turned out Dex had separated from his wife.
Oh, really?
So there you have our 4 suitors. They showed up unannounced, all after I had deleted the dating apps and closed my vagina for business. As infuriated as I used to get when people used to say, love finds you when you least expect it. Turns out they were absolutely fucking right. The world was literally burning. I ran home to hide in the forest with my mom. And now I'm in love.
You can't make this stuff up.
Over the course of the season, I'm going to tell you exactly what unfolded between me and each of the 4 suitors. The good, the bad, and the very, very awkward. And by process of elimination, you will find out which one of these men is Mr. Peanut Butter. Or rather, Mr. It's Me or the Peanut Butter. Stay tuned. It's going to be a fun season.